Why is Veer Savarkar so important for our politics?
He said, no two nations can be permanent friends or permanent enemies. Military strength is the ultimate decider of a nation's greatness. That nation will not allow creation of a nation within a nation.
Where does this put us on a world map? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this interactive discussion on India 75 to 100, developmental challenges, culture and history. We have with us Mr. Uday Mahurkar, Information Commissioner, Government of India, writer, thinker, journalist and an intellectual. He has authored many books, to name a few. Veer Savarkar, the man who could have prevented partition, Marching with a Billion, center stage on the Prime Minister's governance model. We have with us Mr. Nalin Mehta, political scientist, journalist, author. He is also the Dean of the School of Modern Media. I welcome all of you. My name is Sudeshna Chaudhary. I am an associate professor at the School of Modern Media. To start with, Mr. Mahurkar, my first question is, why is Veer Savarkar so important for our politics?
More than politics, it is important for our national security. You see, we have known Veer Savarkar as a great revolutionary. My book is not on Savarkar the revolutionary, book co-authored with Mr. Chirayu Pandit. It is about his efforts to prevent India's partition and his national security vision for India. Whatever India has faced on national security front, the challenges in the last 75 years were predicted by Savarkar 60 to 80 years ago. National security is very integral to the progress of any nation. China. At that time, he defined two principles of security and diplomacy. He said, no two nations can be permanent friends or permanent enemies. Their relationship is defined by their needs. Therefore, Indian diplomacy should be based on enlightened nationalism. He called it enlightened diplomacy, to be more precise, which is that we will not get carried away by various slogans, floated by bigger nations or powerful nations. We'll go by our needs. And secondly, he said, military strength is the ultimate decider of a nation's greatness. You know what he was saying? He was saying that a country might be great culturally, it might be great economically, but then till you secure yourself militarily, you are not safe. And military greatness is military strength is the ultimate decider of a nation's greatness.
You know, we're just taking on from what you've said. I mean, we're talking about Savarkar and we cannot not talk about Hindutva. You know, Hindutva as a ideology was being first floated by Savarkar in 1928 in a pamphlet which said, Hindutva, who is a Hindu? So in BJP ruled India, who is a Hindu? And if there are overlaps, similarities or differences between Savarkar's Hindutva and BJP's Hindu nationalist agenda?
There is not much difference. But there is a trend which you witness today, where a section of ultra-nationalist Hindus wants to paint entire Muslim community as villain, which is not correct. You see, what was Savarkar's Hindutva? Savarkar's Hindutva was unalloyed nationalism, what you call in Hindi, bin sharti rashtravad. Nationalism without any condition. Correct? Where religious pride, caste pride, and regional pride would be secondary to national pride. It is called Hindutva. It doesn't say that others would be treated as second-class citizens. He clearly says that in independent India, all religions and all castes will have equal rights. Goes a step further. Should anybody try to hinder the prayer or puja archana of Christians and Muslims, the state will step in and give protection. But he wants at the third place that nation will not allow creation of a nation within a nation in the name of religious minoritism, which was largely the story of this country in the first 4 or 5 decades. So we have to keep space for moderate Muslims. We cannot create a situation where even moderates and less moderates are treated as radicals. That is dangerous not only politically, it is dangerous even for the national security. So, I will not talk about BJP, but a section of ultra-nationalist Hindus are following something which was not preached by Savarkar. So, there is a difference between the Hindutva or nationalism being followed by a section of Hindus and what Savarkar taught.
Nalin, you'd like to comment on that?
So, there's a lot to comment and engage with initial comments. 3 or 4 things. One, see, Savarkar is a very liminal figure, but he's also a deeply controversial figure, right? There are huge debates about representations of Savarkar and what he meant and so on between the left and the right. I mean, as you well know, including on this notion of Hindutva, which looked at the motherland, those who are born on the motherland and who have lands of worship outside the Indian motherland, if you like, and so on. Now, so that's one strand. How relevant is, because that's exactly why the left and what secular historians, putting that in inverted commas, criticize Savarkar for, because this was a notion of nationalism or nationality which was very different from the idea of India that, say, Nehru adopted or which Nehru espoused, right? So what does that mean for today? And there was a deep debate on this within the Congress itself, not just between the Sun and RSS versus Congress, but between Nehru and other parts of the Congress, which Nehru triumphed on. And that idea of India continued. We are now seeing it
because Gandhiji was killed.
Yes.
Otherwise not.
So
it was Gandhiji's unfortunate death was capitalized upon by congressmen and a section of politicians.
So that's one strand. The second strand is, so there is a whole new Naya Bharat, which the Prime Minister speaks about, which is very different from that idea of India culturally, right? What is the space of minorities in this Naya Bharat?
First, let me expound on Savarkar. Savarkar wrote a book called Hindutva in 1920, which is controversial in the sense that the principles which he defined in that. Many people say that these principles are very divisive. There is no place for Muslims in this. I differ. You see, when did he write that book? It was the formation of RSS and this book were a direct result of Khilafat movement. What was Khilafat movement? A section of Indian Muslims launched a movement in India to reinstate the Sultan of Turkey, who was unseated by Western powers, including the British. They had no direct connection with them. He said, he is our Khalifa and we have to. It was a pan-Islamic movement. So, Hindutva book is a code of ethics to protect the core of Indian culture and Hindu culture. And the last page of the book, Savarkar clearly says, that he does say, a day will come when the world will have to face the power of Hindutva. I think that should put the whole thing in a nutshell.
So let me ask you one question, and I know we're running out of time, so with you please. See, all of these debates are about the past. They are about culture. They are about identity, with religion at the center of identity. Now we are just finished 75 years of independence. We're looking at 100 years. Where will India be? In your view, sir, these wars over culture, what do we gain as a country? Should we focus on these or should we focus on hospitals?
We can't.
Infrastructure.
We can't get away. You have to look at. We need a different session as to how potent is the radical Islamic movement in this country. If you don't fight them, you are finished.
Can saffronization be the answer to that?
No, saffronization, not the way they are doing. That section of not all of them are doing. You see, those who come on Twitter and comment, they are not the only voice of this country. But yes, there is a section of people in the social media who want to target the entire Muslim community, which is not correct for a nation and which is very bad for the kind of nation which many of us are dreaming of.
So what you are saying is that a hard line on terrorism is fine, but please have no hate speech on religion.
India is a multi-religious country. All religions, all prophets should be respected. I don't think there can be any compromise on that. But the principle has to be applied equally.
You know, Mr. Mahokar, there has been, minority rights violation and majority rights violation, and there has been a lot of discussion about Hindu fascism around the world. Where does this put us on a world map? Because we are trying to be, a global power. Where does this put us on a world map?
We have to control this crowd.
Okay.
While
but how do you
fighting the radical Islamic movements with full force, we have to control.
We have to control that crowd, but there is uber nationalist sentiment within the political party.
Not forget one thing. I am not going to justify that. This is also, in a sense, a reaction, for what has happened over the last 50, 60 years.
Just to wrap it up, I mean, we are for moderate Hindus. That's what we need. But when we have to take a stand, we have to take a stand. Yes? Yeah. So we take some quick questions from our students. Yeah. Thank you. Switch it up. It's on? Yeah.
So I just wanted this quick question that can we as Indians live without showing our culture, without showing our religion in public? Can we keep it to us?
You have to understand one thing. What are the superpowers of today doing? The superpowers of today are exploiting the smaller nations. Sri Lanka is the latest example. Smaller African nations are being exploited by superpowers. When India becomes a superpower, and today it is visible, the terms on which we have extended loan to Lanka and the terms on which China has done, you see the difference. We want to help Lanka. So we look at the world as one large family. We go by Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So we have to showcase the positive side of our culture, and it is all positive.
We'll have to wrap it up. We'll just ask like 2-3 questions quickly from students, and then you can answer them together. Just your questions, please.
Hi, sir. So a simple question to you. So you mentioned about controlling the people and, how Hindus and Muslims can be together in the coming years. And do you think that mindset is going to affect the way they are being treated?
So one question about mindset. And do you have any more questions? Okay.
Just
one more.
Be more precise.
Mr. Mahorkar, 3-4 questions together and then we can answer.
Hello, sir. You said about taking a stand against, the pan-Islamic movement that is happening in the world, or let's say just India. So, sir, what would be the best method? Like, should we harness a soft power for it, or should we be harnessing a hard power for it? Because, when we are waging a war, it does not only affect us militarily, but also culturally. So, sir, which steps should we take first?
One more question. Last question, and we take them together. Unity steps. What else?
I just have a simple question, and that is secularism in modern day India, the India that we see today, where we throw in terms like leftist, rightist, or communist, like confetti. Do you think secularism now translates to tolerance, acceptance, or both? What is it right now? What is the stand?
Okay, secularism. Okay, if you could just elaborate on a few things.
What was the first question?
Mindset. Can we change the Hindu-Muslim mindset? We preach for unity, but it's in our minds. How do we change that? How do we address that?
There is a very powerful pan-Islamic movement in the country. You are not aware about it. I do research on them, so I know. So it has to be fought at ideological and even at physical level, which you are doing in Kashmir.
But how do you do that? Do you show movies? How do you do that? How do you fight it out? Because it's very much ingrained in part of our system. It's cultural for us. Partition history.
Somebody has to take the lead. Movie could be a good way. One movie can do things, can work wonders,
Because the history of partition is very much ingrained in us, and, we observe those days. So it's very difficult to sometimes dilute those kind of sentiments.
Very true. Somebody has to take the lead. Because otherwise this problem will fester.
Okay, there's one more question from Yash. Quick question, Yash.
Hi, sir. So you distributed Muslims in three parts, right? How would you distinguish Hindus in three parts, and why?
The Hindus are not in three parts. Only two parts. One which is ultra-nationalist. And I don't think we cannot control them. They are nationalism. They have to be shown the true path. You can't compare them with radical Islam. Radical Islam is dream of this country becoming a Muslim country, say 100 years from now. So these people, however, harsh they are on Muslims, they can be brought around. And the section is not very large. I think somebody has to play a role.
So we've reached end of this discussion. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming. To just wrap it up, we had a very interesting conversation, between what is sort of going to dominate India's narrative in future: Hindu hardliners or moderate Hindus, love jihad or unity in diversity, saffronization or mera desh hai rangila. And I think we want, a little bit of moderation. But as Mr. Mahorkar had said, when you have to take a stand, we have to take a stand for the benefit of the country. Thank you for watching this special broadcast from the School of Modern Media at UPS.